special election night broadcast of IBA News. I'm Laura Cornfield. With me in the studio is Amotz Asael, political analyst with the Wall Street Journal. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening,
Amotz.
Laura.
And after a long and arduous campaign, the results of Israel Television's exit poll are in for the 2015 general elections. And we stand at a tie between the Zionist Union and the Likud at 27 seats each. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's Likud apparently made a comeback in the last few days to draw even with the Zionist Union after the party headed by Isaac Herzog led in opinion polls by approximately 4 seats. The rest of Israel Television's exit poll, which are very similar to the other television channels, are as follows. The Arab List and Yesh Atid received 12 each, Kulanu 10, Habayit Yehudi 9, Shas 7, United Torah Judaism 6, and Yisrael Beitenu and Meretz 5 each. According to the exit polls, Yachad did not cross the electoral threshold. Now the haggling over who can build a coalition begins. We are going live now to our reporters deployed at the headquarters, and we begin with Aaron Viner at Likud. Aaron?
Hi, Laura. Can you hear me?
Yes, indeed. What is the reaction there to what appears to be a big comeback?
Oh, it is fantastic. People here are ecstatic. They, of course, see this as an enormous win for Likud. They are extremely proud about the Prime Minister. And, of course, they're looking at the Channel 1 poll and the Channel 10, but they also have their eyes on Channel 2, which puts Likud at 28 seats. And they are absolutely certain that in the morning, when the final votes start to come in, that they will have even more votes, and that this is a historic occasion.
Thank you, Aaron at Likud. We now turn to IBA's Ari O'Sullivan at the Zionist Union headquarters to hear what the mood appears to be there. Aryeh, can you hear me?
Yes, hi, Laura. I can hear you. Can you hear me fine?
Certainly. What's the mood there, Aryeh?
Well, you know, it started off as a sort of a forced gaiety around here. And when the results first came out at 10 o'clock, there was a lot of delightment and cheering and dancing. But then it sort of turned into a sort of a head shaking because when they saw that the Likud was able to close the gap, they lost their sense of any victory here. Now, in a few moments, Isaac Herzog, the head of the Zionist Union, is going to show up here, and he's going to be telling the people here the same things that the leaders told me earlier, is that they still think that they are the largest party in Israel. They still think that Herzog has the ability to cobble together a coalition, and they're saying and they're chanting, Bibi, the Prime Minister, should go home. It all remains to be seen now how the people here are going to be able to accept the results of this election. Back to you, Laura.
Thanks, Aryeh. And we're joined now by Eli Wogel-Anter, who is at Yesh Atid headquarters. Eli, what's the mood there?
Yes, Laura, Yesh Atid was not that surprised by the results. It kind of matched what the final polls were saying on Friday. But, of course, they weren't happy with it either. The 12 seats that they're getting, much fewer than the 19 they got in the last Knesset. Not just the numbers, but the power that they hold as a party. Looking forward to the coalition building, which, of course, starts tomorrow morning. It probably behooves Yesh Atid to form some kind of a brother coalition, not unlike the one that was formed after the last election, with Bayit Yehudi. If they form it now with Kulanu, the two of them will have 20 to 22 seats together. And as a bloc, going with either Benjamin Netanyahu or Isaac Herzog in the next government, they will be able to dictate the terms both of the coalition partners and the terms of the coalition deal. Meaning, for example, that if Shas were to join that coalition, that's likely Shas would join either coalition, they would be able to refrain from pushing legislation that would roll back the Equal Burden Law, which was a flagship legislation for Yesh Atid in the last Knesset. And, of course, the party is now looking forward to the next election. Laura?
Thank you, Eli, for that update. Amotz, first question. Who won?
Well, on the one hand, the eulogies we've heard in recent days for Benjamin Netanyahu have proven premature. He emerges from this election bruised but survived, as does Likud. Their accomplishment should not be scoffed at, even though, as we'll explain, it is insufficient. At the same time, the Zionist Union also has a remarkable accomplishment in having risen from 15 to 27 or 28 mandates. Obviously, the exact number has yet to transpire, but we understand the general neighborhood. That is an accomplishment, but neither is a victor. So to answer your question, the victor is Moshe Kahlon. Moshe Kachlon, on the one hand, is not the kingmaker that he hoped to be, because in all scenarios the numbers don't add up for the Zionist Union, and he does not have the option of crowning Isaac Herzog prime minister. However, he has the option of crowning either Benjamin Netanyahu or imposing a national unity government on the entire system. And if he does that, then even before we see what that government accomplishes, which in my view can be considerable, the very act of imposing a unity government on the country will mean that Moshe Kachlon has already written a chapter in the history of Israel.
Can you see Moshe Kachlon working with Prime Minister? As you know, there's ill feelings between the two of them, even though he has allegedly promised him the finance ministry.
Sure they can. There have been complete enemies in the history of Israeli politics that harmonized, and the most famous of them would be Rabin and Peres. Their enmity was far harsher than anything we know that transpired between Moshe Kachlon and Benjamin Netanyahu. This is not an obstacle.
Amos, is it clear that the Prime Minister, the Benjamin Netanyahu, will be given the first chance to form a coalition?
It's not clear at all. There's going to be a lot of consulting now with the president, with each faction marching there with its own tune, and until each faction emerges with its own recommendation, I mean the smaller factions that actually face a dilemma, that too will take several days, and during these several days there's going to be a great deal of horse trading and speculating. However, the president himself will clearly try to impose on the system a unity government, and Moshe Kachlon will not be tested. It should be noted anecdotally that the very, very successful unity government of 1984, the one that defeated hyperinflation, was imposed on the system by Isaac Herzog's father, then President Chaim Herzog.
Amos, thanks for that. We're going now to Steve Leibowitz, who's at the Bayit Yehudi headquarters. Steve, disappointment there?
Hi, Laura and Amos. It is certainly, the party is over here. It was very short-lived. When party leader Naftali Bennett was here, people made a lot of noise, but there's a feeling of loss here. Certainly, they had 12 seats. Now they're down to 8 or 9, according to the exit polls. Once upon a time, about a month ago, they were running about 17 seats in the polls, so it's a huge loss. They know that it came at the expense of the Likud. For Netanyahu and Likud to reach 27 seats, clearly it had to come at the expense of Bayit Yehudi, the Jewish home, and they're all just hoping that Netanyahu will be able to cobble together some kind of a right-wing government, a national camp that will be able to form a government, but there's a lot of doubt here. Laura?
Thank you for that update, Steve. We're going to go back to the Yesh Atid headquarters with Eli Waldgelanter. Eli?
Yes, I'm here with Rabbi Dov Lipman, the MK, American-born. MK, I'm about to point out, American-born. In the previous Knesset, now he has not reached the voting limit of, he was number 17 on the list. Rabbi Lipman, first of all, what does this election mean for the party?
We look at it, we started this election campaign at 7 seats. Everyone said it's the end of Yesh Atid. Now we're at 11 or 12, despite attacks from all sides. We feel very strong. It's not usually normal to see a party that does less than they had before, and you hear the environment behind us with activists, young people who believe in an approach. I believe in this approach, breaking down barriers, religious and secular, working together, immigrants from all backgrounds to make real change in Israel. We know that change takes time, and we're here for the long term.
Which way the party's going to go now with these numbers?
We'll take the time and analyze it, and we'll see, and we'll make the right decision. But either way, we've proven that Yesh Atid is here for the long haul, and we'll continue to find a way to influence in this Knesset. And my assumption is in a year and a half, we'll be back here again, and we'll be very, very strong.
And for you personally, not serving now in the 20th Knesset?
I wasn't born as a member of Knesset, and there are so many ways that I can continue serving the Jewish people in all the areas that are important to me. Who knows if in a year and a half I'll be back running again, but all kinds of opportunities will, God willing, be available to me, and I look forward to continuing to serving the Jewish people in whichever way comes my way.
All right, thank you. Back to you, Laura.
Thank you, Eli. We're going now to Aryeh O'Sullivan at the Zionist Union, and apparently he has MK Nachman Shai. Aryeh?
For a second, hold on. Hi, Nachman Shai. Thanks for joining IBA News. Can you tell us what your initial reaction is? 27 seats, it's much more than you got last time, and yet it's still a tie.
Well, it's tied and it's not enough, at least at this stage, to form a new coalition. But we're optimistic. We are not losing hope. We believe that in the right negotiation, which I trust very much Herzog can conduct, we can build a coalition. I don't expect the national unity government as the next stage. Maybe it will come later, maybe not, but leave it out now. We have to try our best to build a coalition that will end the Likud government.
What's your feeling at the moment?
I'm very satisfied personally because I was elected for the third time to the Knesset, which is quite an achievement. But yet I know it means very little because the party should win and we are not there yet. So I'm now going to do everything I can to push forward and to bring a full success.
Thank you, Nachman Shai. Back to you, Laura.
Thank you, Aryeh. Amos, let's go to Yachad. Yachad failed to pass the threshold. How will this affect any coalition building?
Well, it does not seem right now to dramatically affect the broader picture. The impact of this episode is within the ultra-Orthodox fold, which of course in Israeli politics is crucial. It would leave Aryeh Deri disabused of what would have been for him a very unpleasant thorn in the side throughout this upcoming legislature's term. However, he emerges with a very shrunken faction. I think that this is the beginning of the end of the movement of Shas. The fact that they did not manage to keep themselves intact and thereby retain their historic size is, in my view, the beginning of the end. I may be proven wrong.
I'm sorry if I'm going to cut you off. We're going to go to Erin Weiner at the Likud headquarters. She's speaking with MK Gila Gamliel. Erin?
Hi, Laura. I'm standing here with Knesset member Gila Gamliel. To what do you account for the closing of the gap from pre-election polls to tonight?
When the people in Israel understand that it's impossible that Netanyahu will not keep as the Prime Minister of Israel, they brought us as the Likud party a lot of voting. And I think that they bring us again the trust to keep the government of the Likud.
Do you think that it has to do with love of the Likud, or is it fear of a leftist government? What is driving the voting?
What is driving the voting is because, like you see, when you see the Labor and the Likud, that both of us got the same vote, it means that there's a lot of questions about how the people in Israel wants to that the government will behave. And like you see, we can see that there's two opinions. And the Labour become more than in the left side, like Meretz. This is why Meretz maybe won't get enough seats in the parliament. And the Likud is get more than the small parties. It means that it's become understanding that the big parties need to be strong because they don't want elections every 2 years. All this become together as the two parties become stronger and bigger.
So how are you feeling tonight?
I feel very good. I feel very happy, and we have a lot of things to do. That the people in Israel will keep this happy. And thank you for everything.
Congratulations. Thank you for being with us. Okay, Erin, back to you.
Continue to enjoy the celebrations there, Erin. Steve Leibowitz at Bayit Yehudi. What is the future for the Bayit Yehudi?
Well, I guess it's too early to tell, but they've become a marginal party. They're now number 6 in the Knesset in terms of size, whereas they thought heading into this election they might even be the 3rd largest party. That didn't happen. It's a huge blow for the settlement movement. They know that right now their future is tied to the possibility of a narrow right-wing coalition. I don't think that any of them would like to sit in a national unity government together with Herzog. So they're hoping that Netanyahu will somehow be able to cobble together a government that will include them as an integral agreement. But certainly the feeling within the movement here is that they took a blow. They've become a small party like they were 2 or 3 Knessets ago. Naftali Bennett had taken them to 12 seats. and now they've shrunk down to 8 or 9. Clearly, they've retreated from where they were as a very, very significant political force. Now they're a marginal force.
Thank you,
Laura?
Steve. Thank you, Steve. Amotz, how would you explain the downfall of Abayit Yehudi? Could it perhaps be the alliance with Yesh Atid Yair Lapid, or could there be other factors involved?
I think that they fell for the same reason that they rose. They rose because of this very ambitious strategy introduced by Naftali Bennett to diminish their religious character and to accentuate their nationalistic character. At the moment that Netanyahu feared that their entire nationalistic cause is at stake, and he brought this message out very effectively to the right wing, people there enlisted to the cause that Beit Yehudi itself said all these years it effectively thought was more important. And they said, if this is more important, then we must vote for the party that the circumstances demand that it uphold this cause. This is why they declined. It means that Beit Yehudi's great and very pretentious quest to reach out to non-Orthodox and even non-observant electorates has run into an iceberg, and in my view will now prove to be a failure, and they will return what they've been historically, a party that represents modern Orthodoxy.
Thank you, Amotz. We go now to Alexander Jen, who is at the Kulanu Party, the big surprise of the night. What's the feeling there?
Well, Laura, here at the Kulanu Party headquarters, you can certainly feel the excitement and you can hear the excitement. People are ecstatic. This is a huge victory for the Kulanu Party and specifically for Moshe Kahlon. Now, what does this mean for him? Well, not only does it strengthen his bid for finance minister, but because of the amount of votes that he attained, his recommendation for prime minister now carries a great weight. Now, most importantly, because Likud and the Zionist Union are neck and neck, it's so close. It may come down to the Kulanu Party at determining the new leader for the new government. Okay, so without the support of Kulanu, a new government cannot be formed. In the coming days and weeks, we'll be paying special close attention to the Kulanu Party and whom Moshe Kahlon aligns himself with. Laura, back to you.
Thank you, Alexander Jen. Enjoy the evening there. Amotz, turning to the United Arab List with 12 mandates, despite an apparently low turnout, what do you see them doing now?
I think that, first of all, this for them is a disappointment. Talk there was more pretentious, and this is being said without at all belittling their very accomplishment of having unified in the first place. There is something also of poetic justice here from their viewpoint, in that the raising of the threshold was done by Avigdor Lieberman, who emerges from this election dwarfed and almost vanishing, although he's not gone at all. But he obviously is nowhere near the political giant that he was back when he concocted the raising of the threshold last year, which he hoped would come at the Arab list's expense. And it turns out to be exactly the other way around. They emerge bolstered, and he emerges dwarfed.
We're looking at pictures from the United Arab List. The mood there doesn't seem so bad, does it, from what you would expect, perhaps?
No, they have no reason to be in a bad mood. They emerge from this election with an accomplishment. Although assessments are that the package that they managed to package will come apart very quickly, maybe even already as the party heads to the president's house to make its recommendation, with some of them thinking that the right thing to do is to recommend Isaac Herzog, and others saying that even Isaac Herzog is too non-kosher, so to speak, from their viewpoint, and that might bring them apart already at this early stage.
Amotz, any chance of a national unity government? I know that everybody's ruled it out. Do you see anyone sort of backtracking and perhaps realizing that this may be the solution?
Absolutely. I think that the dynamics must lead there, eventually. Everything rises and falls in the short term on Moshe Kahlon's own call. If he decides right now that this is his strategy, then it emerges immediately. But even if he doesn't, and they make the effort to move ahead with this narrow right-wing government, I don't think it's going to be stable. And I think that Isaac Herzog, personally, will be interested in joining. I think he would very much like to be foreign minister, and that Netanyahu love for him to be the foreign minister, and he would be a very good foreign minister. And this is besides the fact that the two big parties can join for the sake of a specific cause, namely reforming the political system, which is a view that both of them share, Herzog and Netanyahu. They understand that the current system creates legislatures which are too splintered and governments that are too short-lived, and they can change the system so that the legislatures are less fractured and that the governments are more durable. And I think that's one goal that they can achieve jointly. The same thing can also be done, if even more ambitiously, on the housing front.
Amotz, we're going to go to Aaron Viner at the Likud headquarters. Aaron, can you sum up the evening there for yourself and for everyone there at the headquarters? Having a little trouble with that. Aaron, can you hear me? Can you sum up the evening there?
Actually, I hear you.
Can you sum up the
Laura.
evening there at the headquarters?
Oh, it is so exciting here. I mean, people, it really restores your faith in democracy. I hate to sound corny, but it does. The people believe in the prime minister, they believe in his party, and they do believe. Take a look behind me. Can you see the dancing, the waving of flags? We have ministers up on the stage. I can't tell you how many times I've been kissed tonight. People are ecstatic, and they firmly believe that they're making history, that Netanyahu will be elected a fourth time as prime minister. And this is it. This is history in the making. They believe it in their hearts.
Aaron, enjoy the rest of the evening. I imagine you have a very long night ahead of you there. Thank you so much. Amotz, let's wrap up with a question. Do you expect long weeks of meetings at the president's residence and coalition horse trading?
Oh, sadly, this absolutely will happen now, because both within a unity government's constraints or within a narrow right-wing government's constraints, which are the two alternatives that we face, there are many components that will be in a position to engage in this horse trading, and this is Israel, and this is Israeli politics. It's part of the game. No one will miss the fun, and no one will cancel this party.
Well, I enjoyed being with you this evening. I'm hoping that we won't be back in the same seat in 2 years from now.
So do I, Laura. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Amotz. And that ends our election night coverage. Aaron Viner will be back tomorrow at a regular time of 4 p.m. with all the up-to-date election results and developments. Thank you, of course, Amotz Asel. Thank you, our viewers, for joining us at this late hour. I'm Laura Cornfield, wishing you a good night and shalom from Jerusalem.